so with the brake line tuck, this is what we're going to be eliminating. These lines, they run on the top of the firewall, and it's not very aesthetically pleasing, especially as the car gets older and the lines start to corrode and stuff and kind of flake. So we're going to be getting rid of that because the engine bay is painted all nice and neat. It can't have no crusty brake lines in there. So we're going to be redoing everything, and we're going to be tucking the lines so that they can't be seen. For the rear lines, we're going to be merging those into one and then running it to a proportioning valve. And then the front one, we're going to actually be running through the firewall, and it's going to come out on the other side. It's going to be where you can't even really see it or tell. So yeah, that's what we're dealing with. We're eliminating this with the brake tuck. Now I'm going to go over everything that I purchased to make this happen, various tools, and whatever part numbers you might need to do this yourself at home. Alright, so for the way that I'm doing this, you're going to need a flaring tool. This one is a 37 degree because I'm using AN style fittings for this, 3AN. So definitely get yourself a flaring tool. This one can be bought on eBay or Amazon relatively cheap. Of course, you're going to need brake line. To my knowledge, all Nissans use 3/16 brake line. I chose stainless steel. Some people like copper instead, but I didn't go with copper because it didn't really match what I had going on in the engine bay, so I went with stainless steel instead. You're going to need a tubing cutter to cut this, you know, to length, because you're going to have to make multiple cuts for multiple lines. So that's a tubing cutter. You're going to need a T-fitting and a 90 degree 3AN to 3AN male to female. Now this is just the way that I chose to do this. These two fittings are actually going to go together, and it's going to end up making like a F type fitting, and then that's going to go to the rear brake lines here. They're going to be merged into one, which will then run into this here. This is a Willwood proportioning valve. It's an adjustable proportioning valve for rear brakes. And I also went ahead and made a bracket for this to be able to mount onto the brake booster. Now for the bracket, all I did was I went to Home Depot and grabbed some hardware that was going to fit, some Allen head screws, and some nuts to go on there. Pause. And then for the bracket itself, I went to Home Depot and grabbed this piece of aluminum, and all I did was just bent it in the shape that I needed it to be. I cut a little piece off, bent it in the shape that it needed to be in, and then drilled a couple holes. So yeah, brake proportioning valve. You're definitely going to need that to pull this off. I went ahead and ordered a brand new brake master cylinder. This is from a U13 Ultima. This is the non-ABS one. If your car is a ABS car, be sure to get the ABS master. If it's non-ABS, get the non-ABS master from a U13 Ultima. We got a tubing bender here. This can be bought on Amazon for relatively cheap. And this is one of the more simpler ones. I'm not going to go too crazy with the bends here, so this one will suffice for me. And then I got a brake line tuck kit off of Amazon, and basically all this is an assortment of fittings and ferrules, bulkheads, bulkhead 90s, bulkhead straights, and this is what's going to allow you to basically run the brake lines behind the firewall and out of vision. I also got my drill here and a drill bit kit here in case I gotta drill any holes to make this happen. Again, this is my first time doing this, so this is going to be trial and error, and I hope it comes out nice. We're going to go ahead and cut these brake lines, and we're going to have to do it in such a way that it makes the fitting fit there correctly. All of these hoses right here, they're gonna be eliminated because I'm gonna be running AN lines for the fuel line, so all of that stuff can go away. Tuck this out the way, and I haven't pulled the fuel lines yet because the lift is tied up right now. But once Steven gets off the lift, okay, maybe that's a little better. All right, so okay, so yeah, we're gonna take these lines. They're held with this little plastic line holder, plastic bracket. We're gonna get rid of that, and we're gonna take our brake lines and spread them apart a little bit. We're gonna take our brake line cutter and fit it over the line and get to cutting. So we're gonna cut up high first, just to try and like get all the excess out of the way. You tighten this on the line and you just take this and spin it. Right, and then you'll end up with that. It cuts the line clean. We're gonna do the same thing on the second line right here. And now that leaves us with these two lines. All right, when you cut your lines, you're going to end up with something like this, and this is not going to work for you know, flaring or anything. The lines, they're going to have to be like completely open. So what I use for that is a 1/8 inch drill bit. Okay, once you run the drill bit through the lines, this is what you're going to end up with. Alright, so this is the U13 master cylinder for the brakes. So what each one of these ports do, of course this top one right here, normally this would go, you know, up and then down and then it goes to the rear brake lines, but what we're going to be doing is we're going to be eliminating the top one. So we're going to install a plug in there, so no fluid's going to be flowing through this port. This is going to get plugged off. The one directly underneath it, this is for the front passenger side. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a line out of this port. It's going to kind of come down and then maybe loop up in some type of way, and this one is going to disappear into the firewall. Now this one right here, this is for your driver side front. This is going to disappear into the driver front fender well for the front driver caliper. So we're going to make a small line for that to go into the fender, and then this one right here is going to run to our proportioning valve. We're going to run a line out of here into the Willwood proportioning valve, and then we're going to run another line out of the Willwood proportioning valve into an F fitting, which is going to distribute brake fluid to both rear wheels. So essentially in doing that, we've eliminated that huge mess of lines that Nissan put up against the firewall, and it makes the engine bay more aesthetically pleasing.